Hello. Well, today we're going to have a mini planning session for 2026. Whether you've done your planning already or if you have yet to think towards the new year, this session is going to help you align your thoughts with your work so that you can put your best intentional foot forward. My name is Naomi, and I am in the event industry for 20 years. I run Planners on Purpose, which is dedicated to improving how planners can work and exercise self care to improve their overall well being. And this is what I call a chai and chat. I love coming together over a chai, having some good, fun discussion over a preferred beverage. Mine is a chai. I love vanilla chai. And perhaps yours is something different. Maybe you have tea or coffee or whatever, and maybe you don't have anything. You're just here for the conversation, and that's absolutely fine too. But we're going to be discussing some meaningful topics as it can relate to our roles as event professionals during these sessions. So I'm very glad to have you here with me today. Go ahead, if you're here live with me, say hello in the chat. I would love to hear from you. And if you're here from the future, hello from the future, leave a comment. I would really love to hear from you. So I love this to be interactive. So if you have any questions during this session, feel free to leave a message or leave a question in the chat, and then I'll make sure to refer to those so that we can answer some of your questions if you're here live today. All right, so what I want to do is take you through a few prompts to help you get prepared for 2026. And if you want to explore further, meaning if you go through this and you're like, "Oh, I really would like someone to help me work with my goals or help me to achieve my goals," definitely reach out to me by going to my website, which is plannersonpurpose.com. And then we can see how I can support you in just reaching the intentions that you're setting for yourself in this new year. Now, you might be thinking, well, this probably is just more of a goal setting session, and perhaps you don't really like goals. And I get it because sometimes we set goals, we don't meet them. It can be just this whole thing where it don't work. But I must admit, I do love creating goals and then setting intentions for myself. But I do know that goals aren't necessarily everything without a plan. So that is what this is meant to be. It's meant to be a plan for you so that you can take it and run with it in the new year. Additionally, I believe that setting intentions on where we would like to go is very helpful because it helps us design the pathway for getting there. And it's a great way for us to align what the destination is that we're going to. We want to know where we're going and how we can achieve that in the future. So I hope you're here for the goals. I hope you're here for the intentions and all the things because we're going to go through all of it. Now, we know that January is coming and there's going to be this big push to meet all of our goals, to do the things that we set out to do. And there might be a point to this big wave. There's this energy that's behind people. They're at the starting line and they're just moving towards their goals and they just want to do it, do it, do it. But that also can set us all up for failure too, especially if we do not have a really good plan or if we set off running without the plan. So let's make this doable. Let's not get ourselves, into a position where we're high in anxiety trying to make these goals or going so fast that we're getting ourselves into burnout meeting our goals. Let's try to be very intentional and create those steps around them so that we are easily stepping towards the future that we want for ourselves. What do you think about that? Well, hello again to everyone. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll go ahead and answer those questions to the best of my ability at the end of the session. So, I would just say that you have what you need already to get started. Whether you're in work right now or you're operating your business, things are already moving. And by the look of the world, they're just moving at a fast pace, a rapid pace. So I'm sure you're already set in the direction that you want to go. But what we're going to do is fine tune the direction um, so that you can make sure that you're headed in the right place, that you don't need to steer the ship, right? Steer the train into the direction that you really need it to go. Because sometimes we look at things and we see that, man, I really missed where I should have been. I probably got a lot of these things done, but perhaps didn't do everything that I wanted to do. So let's steer it in the direction that we really want to be in. And that's the reason for this session. So I think I've kind of beaten that down. So if you're ready, let's get started and just put in the chat or in the comments that you're ready. So every year I love doing this. I love reflecting on where I have been and looking forward to where I'm going to go. And I am going to give you a few prompts that are going to help you with to think about things maybe that you haven't thought about before as you're developing your plan. So maybe you're a person that does things in a digital workbook, or perhaps you just get out a notebook, paper, and pencil, whatever it is. I'll just say, go ahead and get that now, because we're just going to go through a quick mini planning session and workshop. Now, usually my preferred way is to type things out. I like to type things out. I also am a notebook person. I love to write it in notebooks. So I use all of the things. For me, I like to brainstorm with a pen and pencil. So I brainstorm that way. And then I then transfer that into, let's say, my plan, which is online. So in some sort of a online storage, whether it is a table, whether you have like a digital task platform that you want to put it in, find whatever way works for you. But the the fact that you are actually here, and the fact that you're actually getting started and you have a piece of paper and you're ready to go, you are just well in ahead of so many other people. So I'm really proud of you for just being here. So let's go ahead, and if you need to pause me, go ahead and pause me so that you can get what you need for this session. Okay, we are going to start off with a bit of reflection. So as you look towards 2025, or look into 2025, so reflection, let's just look back at 2025. What are some of the things that are coming to mind that you've done? What are some of the things that you had intentions for as you came into 2025? I want you to think about those things. Now, maybe you're like me and you already have these written down. So I typically do have things already written down because I do this every year. But if you haven't, just think about some of those goals that you maybe had for yourself last year, or things that you wanted to do, and really reflect on if that is something that you did or not. What are some of the areas that you got traction in? Whether it is the smallest little bit of traction or not. Sometimes I have a goal of reading a certain amount of books. I don't know if any of you are on Goodreads. I'm on Goodreads. I absolutely love Goodreads, and I like to track how many books that I read each year. And I do have really good intentions, and I must say I do read plenty of books, but sometimes with my own personal goal, I come in slightly short, and I can see exactly where I came in short, or perhaps it's a book that took really long for me to get through and I couldn't get that last couple books in. But the fact is that I read a book. So it's okay. If you've gotten traction on your goal, that's amazing and that's great. Let's just write those things down. So as you look at these, think to yourself, well, what happened? If you had a goal or intention, direction that you wanted to go, are you still in that certain direction? If not, what happened? What allowed you to steer off course? And was the thing that steered you off course, was it something better? Was it, let's say, something that allowed you to skip that goal? Was it something that is more important? Those are things that we really want to take some evaluation of. And another question you might want to ask yourself is, the direction you're in now, if it's different than where you thought you would be, was it your agenda or was it someone else's agenda? Because that can happen too. Many times we have goals for ourselves, personal goals for ourselves, but where we are, and then where, let's say, it can be someone else. It can be anybody. It can be a parent. It can be employer. Something else came into our lives that allowed us to steer off course, and it was their agenda. And it might have been a good agenda, but it was someone else's agenda and not yours. Take note of that. Sometimes it can be hard to stare those things in the face, but it's worth it, believe me. Now, what I do each year is I have a table. So I have a big table and I have a column for the goal that I want to achieve. I have a column for the date that I prefer to complete it, knowing that things never really, go according to like my plan. But I also have a completed column for if I've completed that, and I usually mark the date in which I complete it by. And I do also have a notes column, and this is for me to take simple notes about it, maybe some extra context for the goal. Or if I complete the goal or I partially complete the goal, it gives me a record on just what happened. Now, I do go further with things, with actually tracking, like pacing myself. So if I have a goal that actually is one of those SMART goals that I am measuring, I will have, let's say, a separate area which I can actually map that on a monthly basis on if I met it or if I didn't. And I'm not saying that I always track them monthly. Sometimes I have to go back and, fill it in after a couple of months, but it helps because by the end of the year, I could see if I was on track or not track, and I have a significant amount of data that I can see. So this is just for, for my personal and business goals, and this might work for you. And maybe you have a different system that you use, and that is absolutely okay. But for those of you that do not have a system at all, perhaps that may work, and it might be something that you might want to try. Now, if you did not create goals or set intentions for last year, that's okay. We're just moving along. So I want you to just really start to document that, and then you can see what's going to work best for you as you move forward. After the session, perhaps you can, do a little bit of searching on how you want to keep record of this, if it's going to stay in your notebook or if you're going to move it into another place. So now let's start to reflect on what you completed this year and what you're really proud of and what's notable and those goals that you've either partially completed or not. We're going to get a little bit deeper into some of this reflection. So for those items that you completed or you got traction, I would just say congratulations. You did the thing. You got traction. You completed it. Believe me, sometimes there are goals that just don't go untouched. And the fact that you do have things that you have moved along in is worthy of a pat on the back. So you should definitely pat yourself on the back. You are moving, and we want to continue to have that movement. If you've completed these within the time frame that you wanted to, that's equally great. And if you didn't, no worries, because now I want you to just think of certain things. So here's some more prompts for you as you're continuing to develop out your plan. So the first prompt is, what areas have you completed and got traction, and how well did you complete them? So we talked a little bit about that, right? If you got traction, how well did you complete them? So for example, if you had a revenue goal of $500,000, how close or how much did you exceed this goal by? And you want to be honest with yourself. You want to go and pull the receipts. You want to make sure that you can really see and identify with where you were and where you are, or not where you are and where you are, but what your goal was, and then how close you came into your goal. Um, and I want you to do that for every single goal. If there's a way that you can track it, which most of our goals and intentions, it was great if we can track it, because that allows us to have the data that we need behind so we can change behavior or put in a new goal. So I would just say, let's see how close that we can get to finding some proof of how you really did on that particular goal. And that might not happen in this live stream because this probably isn't going to last that long, but it might happen once you're done with this live stream. You can go back, set aside a couple more hours to really get this plan down, really start to do some reflection and some planning. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, lead 3 incentive programs this year and you worked on 2, again, that's an example of something that you might want to write down. So you do this for every area that you set intentions for. All right. Now, for me, I do this activity each year, and I am typically amazed at some of the goals that I've met. Um, and that's because sometimes when you really look at the numbers, you really get very amped when you're seeing everything in one place. You might be tracking them monthly or bi-monthly, but when you're really summing up everything for the year, this is such a great exercise because you could just see where you are and you could see how well you've done, or you could see, ooh, there's an area there that you didn't pay attention to and it fell off your plate. So maybe that's you. And if that's you, I would just ask yourself, well, why didn't you get traction with it? What prevented you from getting traction? Is this still going to be a worthy goal, especially when it's stacked up against everything else? That's something you'll have to determine. Um, when you're sifting through things, sometimes you need to look at what happened, why it didn't occur, and then even see what other supplemental data around that item that you can get that would allow you to make a decision on if you would like to keep it or not. Look into what happened. It could be a program or a project that maybe didn't occur. And if it didn't occur, why didn't it? So this really just helps us to understand how we're going to create a pathway forward, and if it will stay and if it will go. And it's okay if it goes. It really is. Just say goodbye to it, and it's not there for you for now, and it's time to move on to things that are bigger and better. Now let's take a look at those tasks and goals and intentions, and why did well, basically those goals and intentions and why they didn't make the cut this year. So let's say that you have your why, you've looked into the story, so you know exactly why it didn't happen or why it did. Now, I want you to take a look at it and say, is it still a worthy goal? Especially if it's one that you didn't make any traction with. Is it still a worthy goal? If it will stay or if it won't. You have to commit to yourself to do the work and gain traction in this area if you say that it's going to stay. um, because we don't want to have goals and intentions for the sake of having goals and intentions, right? Let's make them meaningful. Let's put some fire behind them. And if you don't feel like it's a worthy goal, or if the data isn't adding up, um, if it's in an area that if it's not in an area that you're invested in, just let it go. So many things, many times we all have goals and we have so many goals and so many things that we want to do. So many times we want to keep it on because, yeah, maybe I'll find a little time to work on it. But what's going to be really helpful is that you narrow your goals down. And I would just say maybe 3 big goals that you want to focus on for this year. And I know for some of you, you're like, oh my goodness, I usually have, 10 or 12 goals that I want to work towards. But where you'll make the most traction is if you narrow that in and really focus with intensity in achieving those goals. And then that doesn't mean that you can't add on after, but at least you can feel really good about those 3 goals that you have, and you can work towards them, like I said, with that fire, with that passion. And then after those are completed, you can continue to move forward. There's a really great concept that I'm trying to think about the book, but it's a really great book. And when it comes to my mind, I'll share it with you, or I'll go ahead and leave it in the description. But it's instead of doing annual planning, it's let's do more quarterly planning. So we're going to set our 3 goals for, let's say, this year, but we're going to work at them within the next 12 weeks. Um, and so it will be more of a quarterly goal, but it really helps you to get goals accomplished quicker when you have that shorter time frame in which to complete them in. So let's say you have these 3 goals, and let's say you're going to work at them for the next 12 weeks. Work at them for the next 12 weeks, get them done, and then that way you can go ahead and do 3 more goals for that next 12 weeks. So it's these little 12-week sprints. And in fact, it's been proven that people are getting way more done on less time because of that methodology. So again, when I think about it, I'll definitely put it in the chat, the book that I'm that I'm referring to, but that's also another way that we can really approach them. So I think 3 is really great for just focusing on and then narrowing your focus and just going after it. Now, um, now that we've and I want you to really take a look at the goals that you have and just see what you can eliminate. See if there's a way that you can really get them down to 3 goals. That would be very good for you and just will allow you to really do some really intense focusing in these next few weeks. All right, so now that you've eliminated those that you're no longer going to hold close and you've whittled most of your goals and intentions down, I just want you to just celebrate because now you have these areas that you're going to focus on. So give yourself a pat on the back. Go ahead and just do some celebrating that you have those 3 goals. Now we have a little bit of a tougher part is we're going to identify the steps that we're going to need to accomplish the goal. So, for example, going back to the 3 incentive programs, this person that wanted to do 3 incentive programs per year. And let's say they have to then create those steps in order to make that happen. For some people, it might look different. For some people, it might say having a conversation with the leader and getting kind of that confirmation somehow, or making a plan to align your capacity with making sure that you can manage and handle those 3 incentive programs. For other people, it might be gaining those 3 programs. Maybe you're a business, or maybe you are a person that needs to actually acquire those 3 incentive programs so that you can plan them. So that might mean some efforts, right, to show a client that you're able to take on that large project. And it might also include some influencing and just some other types of conversation and presentations in order to get that done. Those are all the steps in order to accomplish that big goal. So I would like for you to then write out, okay, what are all of those steps that I would need to do in order to accomplish that goal? Because those are going to be the things that will allow you to take action to bring those intentions and that goal to fruition. Now, if you're better at putting things on your calendar, these steps are then tasks that you can break them down into tasks that you can find a way to kind of implement them and start to schedule them and put them into your calendar. Every goal has many baby steps and that you might need to accomplish your goal. So I encourage you to map out what those steps are, to create action by scheduling these on your calendar or even in like your digital task manager. Make sure that you take those small steps and put them in your calendar. So, how are you doing on your goals? Have you come up with your big 3? If you have, please go ahead and put them in the chat or put your favorite one in the chat. I would like to be able to see those. And then, if you have any questions, let's get to some of your questions as well. Make sure to put those in there. I hope that this session has helped you. I always enjoy doing this each year, seeing how far I've come, getting ideas for moving forward, and creating a plan. Those It's just super fun for me, and hopefully it's fun for you. It really helps ignite kind of the energy around how you're moving forward and how you're steering things along. And I would just say, just remember that, like, even though things aren't happening in the time frame you want it to, it's okay. Just take a look and revise the plan. And I think that's the most important thing is instead of have it be more of a working plan, instead of it being something set in stone and saying, oh, this is the goal that I want to achieve. Because sometimes things happen. We have things that happen along the course of our year. New exciting things might come into play. And we always need to take those things that happen and basically cross-reference them with the goals and intentions that we had set earlier and just say, okay, well, based off of this new information or these new things that are now coming up, how does that allow my goals to sit? Does that move my goals? Are my goals still important in light of this? Then we have to be able to make those changes in the switching if we need to. But if you're a person that really needs to have that goal done no matter what, then you would have to make sure you exercise that self-restraint in a way of not allowing anything to come in the path of you meeting that goal. So you definitely have to make that decision and say, no matter what, I'm getting this done. It doesn't matter what comes up. I am going to make sure that I'm making the choice to make my goal happen and then I'm stepping in the right direction towards my goal. And sometimes you have to make that decision daily. Sometimes sometimes every moment because we are constantly bombarded with so many things that can steer us off our path. So make that commitment to yourself that you always are going to make sure to have that in your eyesight, kind of in your foresight, and then making sure that you're cross referencing with the things that come up and you're making that decision. I hope that you enjoyed the session. Comments. If you have any questions, put that in the comments. I definitely do like to come back and read them, and I can provide an answer for you, or you might see that answer in an upcoming video. But yes, let me know what you're going to focus on this year. Go ahead and put it into the comments. And with that, I just am thankful for you being here, and I will see you on the next live stream. Thank you so much for joining.